When it comes to the topic of crochet kits, I, for one, have not really been impressed with the selection that I've gotten my hands on so far. Now, to be fair, that selection has been rather sparse. I don't purchase crochet kits for myself, with the exception, I think, of one or two I found at an op shop. All the crochet kits that I've tested out have come from people giving them to me, whether they've been gifts or just things they've found in storage somewhere and thought, hey, you do that knitting thing, here, have this. So yeah, I don't go out of my way to purchase crochet kits, but something that I have done in the past and I enjoy doing is taking the concept of the amigurumi, the base idea for the pattern, and putting my own spin on it. And that is precisely what we're going to do here today. A couple of months ago, honestly, it's probably even longer than that at this point, but I crocheted and sort of gave a little review to this kit here. If you want to see that review, I will pop the link down in the description if I remember to do so. But suffice to say, this was a pretty terrible kit. And as some of you might know, if you've watched this channel for a while, I am a big dinosaur fan, but even I was unimpressed with the critter that this kit made. So today I'm going to do my best to remedy that. We are going to be making some sort of generic theropod dinosaur, but on top of that, I am going to set myself sort of an additional little challenge, although it's more like a restriction. One thing that I struggle to do when it comes to amigurumi is just rein in the size. Back when I first started making amigurumi, all the amigurumi I created was on the larger size, and that was a deliberate choice. But I think I've sort of set myself up for failure when it comes to smaller amigurumi by doing that, because ever since, I've just found it really hard to rein myself in. Almost every time I go to make small amigurumi, they end up being larger than I intend them to be. Even if the shaping works out, it's always just bigger than I was aiming for. So today I am going to try and make an actual tiny theropod dinosaur. And also, to be upfront and honest with you guys, I'm also doing this because I've just had a lot of hand pain recently, and I'm hoping just doing a smaller project will help with that. So first things first, let's grab out the old, well, I'm calling it a sketch pad, but it's a notebook. My sketch pad is somewhere off over there that I can't get at the moment. So what I want to kind of go for is an oversized head. So we're going to do a big head, like so. And then possibly with an overbite. So if this jaw comes out here, we can have some little teeth along there. And we'll do a big eye. And then the body, I want to be smaller and rounder. So nothing huge. We'll need a tail, of course, just a little stubby tail. I probably did that too low down the body there. Oh, that's fine, it works. We might even do a belly patch. And then some little tiny T-Rex arms. And that's probably some little feet. All right. You got the tail in the wrong spot there. But just something to that effect. The main focus I want to be the head. It's a big chunky head on a small undersized body. That can sometimes be really cute in Amigurumi 4. So I'm hoping to hit that mark. And as I said, I want it to be small. Pop you up there for reference. Now question, do I have a center pull on this mess? I was hoping since I wound these ones up into cakes, the center pull would be a lot easier. That plan worked out real well, didn't it? All right, there we go. Not too bad. Not the worst center pull I've ever had. Maybe I spoke too soon. I got 2 threads coming out here. found you. For the head, I want to make this a more squared off piece than a rounded one. So instead of starting with my usual 6 single crochet in a magic circle, I'm only going to start off with 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I apologize if you can hear any disgusting chewing noises in the background. Tilly is eating her breakfast. And then for round 2, I'm going to put 3 single crochet in each stitch from round 1, because doing so sort of sets you up for a nice square-ish piece, and that's what I want to go for. Now, my impulse is to continue increasing out for somewhere between like 3 and 5 rounds. But no, I am going to stop myself, just rein in the enthusiasm a little bit, and I'm going to start adding some length to this piece. So we should have 12 single crochet in the round, if I did round 2 correctly. It seems very strange to me because it's so tiny, but I am going to add more width to this thing because I do want to keep increasing, but I want to break up those increase rounds with single crochet rounds. So I'm also going to be building length as I increase a little bit, just to give me a subtle bit of shaping. We're not overdoing it here today, or at least we're trying not to. But this is my tiny little piece so far, and I have made it narrower than I sort of sketched out in my original design, but there is a reason for that, because what I want to do is make a second piece that I can use as like the top jaw, the top of the muzzle, and crochet that into this one. I don't know if I've judged the distance well enough, because depending on how much more length I add, this specific size at the moment might end up being either too short or too long for the muzzle. But the only way to sort of figure that sort of crap out is to try it. So what I want to do is secure this piece. And I'm going to set that aside, but close by, because I will need to reference the shaping of it. But then I want to grab out the other end of the yarn and just make a second matching piece, as I said, because I'm going to crochet that in. I just don't know whether I should work that piece in rows or in the round. I do wonder if I just replicate the pattern here, if that would be too narrow. I mean, it might work out. You know what? We'll try that. I'll just whip up a second piece of this and we'll lay it on top and see how it looks. Slight change of plan. Instead of using my 4mm hook, I will crochet the same pattern, but I want to jump up to my 4.5. That might just slide over the piece I've already got just that little bit better. I don't know if I made the right call using the 4.5mm hook here, but I'm going to try it anyway. Experimentation is often part of amigurumi making. So if I take this piece that I just made and I want to line it up over the top of this one. Now I'm not going to be working through all the stitches. This might call for some stitch markers. So I want to work from probably this stitch here to this stitch here. If I line those up with the same stitches, maybe that'll work. I don't know. We can only try. I'm not confident with this. I'm not that impressed. I'm not that impressed. Like, and it could be the shaping that is the issue. Because rather than following the pattern that I had, maybe I should have rounded out the muzzle piece. I mean, I could try and make another one. Yeah, let's do that, because I really don't like that. All right, so you are destined for the scrap bag. Oh, it's just not happening for me today. It kind of looks like some sort of, I don't know, sad beak. But rather than make a third attempt now, I think I'm just gonna, yeah, no, I was gonna say I'm gonna finish it off, but no, that's terrible. I don't like that at all. It needs more length in the sides. The piece on top is just not the right size. And even if I did get it the right size, at this stage, I'm not convinced I would like this method anyway. So for now, I'm going to scrap this idea. The head is kind of frustrating me, and I don't really like working on pieces when I'm in that mind frame. I'll set aside my original piece for now, but even that, I think I'm going to have to change up the shaping a little bit because I'm not going to be including this second piece. Well, not at this stage anyway. So I'm probably going to have to frog that. But I think because I'm irked, I'm a little bit irked that it's not happening today. I'm going to turn my attention to the body piece because, like, hopefully that's just a rounded piece. Hopefully that won't give me so much trouble. And even if I do, like, the other body parts, the arms, the legs, the tail, even a belly patch if I want to include that, we can get all that done and then come back to the head at the end. Because right now you're kind of making me want to put my hook down and just walk away from this thing. But if I want to get a video up on Friday, I have to get this finished. So you sit there for now. I am going to grab the non-center pull end, which is annoying. I could frog that now, but depending on how exactly I shape the body and how large that turns out, like this piece as it is could end up working. So I don't want to go and undo all my work now if that is the case later on. So we're setting you aside. All right, so body first, that's just an open-ended rounded piece. I can handle that. I should be able to handle that. The body piece is now done, and thankfully it didn't give me any issues, unlike the head. But I will say, if there is one thing I would critique about this piece, is that perhaps it's not quite as like chonky as like the sketch was. But that's one of those things that might not be as noticeable once I add all the additional pieces. I feel like I'm struggling a little bit today. I don't know if it's because I've placed the restriction on myself that I need to make this smaller. But like normally, at least when it comes to basic shaping, I feel like I can sort of like get that locked in first go. I don't need to frog my work too much. Not in all cases, but just generally speaking. But I don't know, today I'm second guessing myself a little bit. So, and that's the only explanation I can think of, that I'm just not accustomed to working with these tiny little amigurumi. The next piece, I want to try and design other feet, because if there's another piece that's going to give me trouble, I think it's going to be those, because the way I would normally make feet in a dinosaur amigurumi is just not going to work in the context of a tiny amigurumi. So I'm going to have to put the thinking cap on for this one and come up with an alternative. For the feet, I don't think I'm going to bother working in the round. Like, any piece that I made for the feet would just be, I think, is too tiny to even bother with. But I am going to start off with a magic circle. So there we go. And then from there, I might go a single, a half, and then another single, So kind of got a very, hang on, a very basic foot shape. Like even that's already close to being the right size. I don't know if you can see that properly. I'm tempted to repeat row 1 again, but honestly, I think that might be too big. So instead I'm going to chain turn, and I might just like picot stitch across, and my picot stitches will act like claws. Well, that feels pathetically small, so let's cut a tail for sewing and just hope it works out. It's kind of foot-shaped, vaguely, maybe if you squint, but let's see how it looks on the body. Even that looks too big. Oh dear, you know what? How can I make it smaller? Do I just put 3 picot stitch in a magic circle? But, you know, it might look a little bit different once it's sewn down. So I'm going to make a second one anyway. On the second one, actually, I'll frog what I've done. I'm going to replace the half double with a double crochet just to see what effect that has on the shaping. Honestly, I don't think it had all that profound an impact. So let's pop you on next to the first. I mean, with two on, it doesn't look so bad. Like that looks all right. And again, I need to sew them down, which is going to change the shaping slightly anyway. So I think the next piece I'll do is like a little belly patch that I can stick in the middle there. I reckon I got the proportions of the belly piece correct, but they still do make the feet look a little bit too big. But now I want to move on to the next piece. I was thinking about doing the arms, but honestly, they're probably going to take me like literally a minute each. So I might do the tail instead, because with the tail, I do need to get it proportional, get it the correct size, but I also want to make it so it helps this piece balance out. Honestly, it shouldn't be too difficult a task. I just want to make sure that I stack my increases at the top of the piece so I get a little bit of a slope, you know, slanting upwards towards the spine. So we'll stick you there. And once again, I just got to try and keep myself contained, not make it too big. This thing is bloody tiny, and yet somehow I think it is still too big. Though at least this problem is easily solved. I think if I just take out the last increase round that I did, well, actually no, the last round was a round of just single crochet. So hang on, let me untangle you. So we take out the last round of single crochet, but then I'm going to take out the last round of increases that I did. I mean, I only increased up to 10 stitches total. How is that too big? Take that out. Okay. All right, let's put you there, but I might need to add just like another round of just single crochet if the length is off. So if I take that, put you on the back. No, I actually think that works. It looks a little bit misshapen without the stuffing in there, but no, that's probably an appropriate length. I just don't think my mind is built for making tiny amigurumi. Even when I think I'm making like a really tiny piece, still ends up too big. So that's a bit better shaped now that it has stuffing in it. So I'll put you on the back, but I want to make sure it balances. So we'll set it on the table while we pin it in place. Another thing I dislike about small amigurumi is it makes it difficult to use pins, because what I've found happens is that the pins will just go straight across the piece, and when you pick it up and if you squeeze it just a little bit, you get stung. But I don't think that is my most pressing concern at the moment. All right, so now that the tail is finished, the last piece that I want to do for the body is create the arms. There are a couple of additional detail pieces I want to crochet, including like teeth and perhaps even spines for the head and even maybe the back. But I won't be doing those until the head is finished. So I can hopefully like size them to fit that. So I'm not going to worry about that now. Let's make ourselves a couple of little, emphasis on little, arms. I need to make these like really tiny because I do not have much space to work with. So I'm thinking we start with 4 single crochet in a magic circle. I was gonna increase, but honestly, I don't think I'm gonna need to. Like 4 seems to be just fine. You know what, we're gonna try it. We're gonna go only 1 increase, so we'll go increase. Working with these tiny pieces is painful in more than one sense. And also it doesn't help that I'm not using the best quality yarn for this. It is just honestly rubbish I've pulled out of my scrap bin. All right, so that's up to 5. Honestly, I don't really want to put in another row of single crochet. I think that might do us actually. You know what, we'll try it. We'll try just 1 round of 5 single crochet and we'll see how that looks. All right, those are definitely some stubby little arms. Let's cut that. Yeah, that's, if I stick, no, that's too big. I should have stopped. I should have stopped at the previous row. That's too big. Okay, I'm going to take out the last 5 single crochet. So if I put you on the front, yeah, I think I do like that much better. All right. Now I need to spend 30 seconds making the second one. That is the tiny little arms done. Now, I'm not going to pin them in place just yet because I was having, you know, a bit of trouble with the head. I'm instead going to do something I wouldn't normally do with my Amigurumi, and that is begin the assembly partway through. Like normally I like to leave all of my assembly to the end, with the exception of a couple of patterns where you need to assemble to some degree partway through. But yeah, normally I just like to have all my pieces and put them together at the end. But in this case, I think it might be a little bit easier for me to size the head if like the body is one piece. So I'm just going to put everything together, and judging by the size of these pieces, I don't think that's going to take me very long. Because of the size, it was rather fiddly to put together, but like that's kind of adorable. Whether it's worth that fiddliness though is only going to be a question that I can answer at the end when it's complete. So speaking of which, I'm kind of glad I didn't frog the head piece that I started before, because if I pop that up against there, I think that's kind of working for me. Like that is a decent shape. I might need to increase out a little bit more and obviously add some more length to it. But yeah, I think that's going to work. So I'm just going to finish off this. I'm going to give a big thumbs up to Parsley for not jumping the gun and frogging that. And we finally have a head that actually works. In fact, I think it works quite well. That's rather adorable. Okay, the one thing is though, I don't know if the teeth are going to work. I think the head is too small for that. If I make teeth, I I think they're going to be like too prominent. They're going to take up too much of the face. I'll try it because I want to make some spines for the back anyway. And I'm going to use picot stitches for that. That's just going to be the easiest way to make them and probably the most like size appropriate. And I'm going to use a similar, if not the same pattern to make the teeth. But yeah, we can stick them on and, you know, see what they look like. But at the moment, I'm just kind of leaning towards they might be too much. So we'll put you there. I'm not going to sew the head on just yet. We'll make these additional pieces, all 2 of them, and then we can finish the assembly. For the teeth, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the spines, but I'm going to try dropping down a hook size. That might help them, you know, fit on the face a little bit better. Still not convinced though, still not convinced. Crochet the teeth. I'm going to put together the rest of the dino first, so that's just the head and the spines, and then we're going to suss this out. So we have our almost complete or possibly complete little dino here. The last thing I need to do is just test out these teeth. I don't think this is going to work. If it was slightly bigger, I think that could work, especially if I made something to cover the top of the teeth or the roots of the teeth here. But no. No. Okay, my little friend, you can have your dentures removed. Okay, that's another piece for the scrap box. All right. Well, because we're not adding the teeth, that means our little dino is complete. And I am both proud but sort of surprised that I managed to keep it this small. I honestly really like how it's turned out. The head isn't quite as squared off as I was sort of like picturing in my original, but I don't think it looks like necessarily bad. One thing I might change though is I actually prefer it without the spines. When I write up the written pattern for this piece, I'm going to include them anyway. But yeah, I think I actually prefer the dino without them. But yeah, overall, kind of cute. Now, if you are wondering, where did I put it? I've got the paper. So this was the original kit, and this was the original dino it made. This was actually sitting in my sister's room. She thought he was rather cute and wanted to keep him. But that is the original. And this is my recreation. Now, I wouldn't say mine is better because better is subjective, isn't it? But I do prefer the shaping on mine. Even if it is smaller, I do prefer the shaping because like this one, like I'll grant you, it's got its own like cute sort of appeal, but it really is just like 2 spheres put together with a couple of little extra bits hanging off. It's not awful by any stretch, but yeah, I do actually like my little guy here more than I thought I would. The one thing I would say about this is the plan today was to create a small amigurumi, not only just to see if I could, but also in part because just my hands have been pretty sore with the arthritis lately. But I think that kind of backfired on me because working with these smaller and very fiddly parts is almost as bad as, I mean, in some cases it might even be worse than crocheting a lot. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. So I didn't necessarily have to make a tiny dinosaur here today. Perhaps I could have done something around this size, but you know what? I'm glad I challenged myself and tried. Making small amigurumi like this is probably not going to be something I do on the regular. I just prefer making larger amigurumi. I mean, if I could get away with it, I would be making big things all the time. I have so many ideas and plans. You have no idea. I have an entire long laundry list of them, but actually being able to physically crochet them is another matter entirely. But that is not your problem. That is something I have to worry about. So yes, if I had to pick, I would definitely be choosing the larger amigurumi. but you are still rather cute, and I might stick you on my shelf. Actually, I'm going to need to make at least a couple more versions of this. Like one is just a test to make sure there's no errors in the pattern, and also one for the written version of the pattern. So I might find a dinosaur I like or prefer over you, because this yarn is really terrible quality. There's a reason it is in my scrap bag, which Tilly is currently trying to get into. Come here, you. Can you just let me finish the video? We're almost done. You couldn't have stayed asleep for 5 more minutes? What was I saying? You just distracted me. What was I saying? Oh yes, I was talking about putting the dino on my shelf. So yeah, I might have a slightly nicer version that I can put up here with the dinosaur collective. You're distracting me again. Well, I suppose while you're here, you can help me with the... Today's featured creator on the hookup. Before I tell you who it is, I do want to say it does come with a bit of an asterisk. The link provided no longer works, but I wanted to include it anyway. So if you happen to see this section and you want to provide updated links, please just pop those down in the comments. But today's featured creator is Elena, or Elena Hoda, and she says, I'm a self-taught crocheter. I learned during quarantine. I've made several Amigurumi projects, and I'm currently working on several written patterns. Working on several patterns at once. Can't imagine what that's like, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. But anyway, this is where I would normally say if you want to check out Elena's links, they will be down in the description. But in this case, they're not going to be unless an updated one is provided. But if you would like to apply for the hookup for yourself, there is a link for that down in the description. Are you sleepy, are you? You keep yawning. Thank you all for watching today. Let me know what you thought of the little dino, and do you prefer it with or without the spikes? I am personally in camp no spikes, but what do you think? So you can... No, I'm not going to put you up on the shelf. I literally just had an entire conversation, albeit a one-sided conversation, about why I'm not going to put it up on the shelf. So thank you all for watching today. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it if you think it's worth sharing, and I will see you in the next one.